This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's that time of the year, Katarina.
Yes, it's time for ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. And the year passed so quickly, didn't it?
I think both yes and no. I think it's been a quite long and also loud year.
Very loud. What's happening?
But also a good year in so many ways.
Yes. Yeah, and I thought, let's, as we are talking to the CHRO at Spotify, and you have this fantastic wrapped, as you do at Spotify, that everyone is looking forward to every year. Why don't we wrap up the year?
Why not? I also think it's quite cute. It's almost like, when you tell a story and you are the one that laughs like most.
Yes.
I think we love wrap, but fortunately enough, our listeners seem to love wrap, but also our creators. So let's do a wrap then.
Let's do a wrap. And I have to say, yes, we love it. And I think people are looking forward to it. And I think it was... I read somewhere, I think it was Michael Kim in your team. He was saying, let's just scrap all of the personality test or whatever. If people show you their wrap, you can actually have a good conversation and get to know them in a really, really good way, right?
Yeah, you used to say, show me your kind of bookshelf and I will tell you who you are.
Exactly.
I usually say, show me your playlist and I will tell you who you are.
Yeah. So, your playlist. 2022, Katarina. I know that every year you set out a few predictions for the year, what you think will happen, where you think focus will be, and you did so for this year as well.
You mean in the Spotify HR blog post?
Yes, exactly. So, and you had quite a few for this year.
I had a couple. I actually had two because there was a mini series of a couple of blog posts, and it started off about, keep knitting, but maybe using a couple of different colors. And I think that is actually what happened this year. So it's all about the baths, but there are some tremble kind of tones to it too. And I think we came into the year and everything opened up in society. Also, I think most people felt that, the freedom and flexibility was back. And I think it was a lot about that adjusting. I don't think it was the new normal. I didn't think anything was abnormal. I didn't think that, this is going to be very, very tricky. It's going to be more of building on what's actually working for people and companies and then take it from there. There was also a lot of things that you had to rethink. Because as we all know, the last year or the year before didn't just come with, a lot of trouble and bad things. It was also some parts of it was a blessing in disguise. So I think that is where the HR year also. But I don't think there is a crow or a CHRO in the world that doesn't have to do this ending the year, thanking their team for 2019, 2020, 2021, and now 2022. It's been hard work, but it's also when it's hard, it gets interesting. When it gets interesting, this is also when you do important work, and it's also when you define yourself, your leadership, but also your team's work.
Definitely, yeah, and the way that you put it. I remember we closed 19 thanking our teams, and we thank them every year, right? But 19 was obviously, and 20 was extremely hard. But you realize that every year now, and I think that will continue for quite some years going forward, there will be some really, really hard learnings, but also new learnings, obviously, because things are changing so quickly. And some of the things that we see now, we have not seen before. So we have to invent as we go, right? And I think that is also, it's fun, but it's hard. And obviously, it also puts a lot of pressure on the HR teams as well.
Yeah, but I think pressure is good. If you just find a way to pace yourself and also learn how to prioritize, because if everything is wildly important, nothing is important, right? And sometimes less is more. but it needs to be less and better.
Yeah.
And the closer you get to the core business, whatever kind of business or industry you are in, and you are a bit picky on the things that you want to work with, and also knowing and making sure that you have the metrics in place so you actually do the things that are moving the needle. I think those are the things that we have learned, not the hard way. And I think what is really interesting and also important to kind of stress is, I don't think ever in history HR has been more crucial, more important, and also more strategic. And not because we say so, because it's very obvious that the need for the business is very much how you handle your people. And going into this year's new year or end of the year, I think we see that, right? Good leadership is good leadership. Bad leadership is bad leadership.
Always.
Over-indexing on communication or not communicating at all, or the way that you choose to do that. Because good times and bad times, it's not about some people are doing better or worse, or companies are, finding or kind of hitting that headwind instead of having tailwind. I think that happens, and you have to deal with that. And I think a lot of the younger businesses might not have a lot of experiences of how to do that. And some people, like old people, I'm not looking at you, but old people. We've been to recessions.
Oldies but goodies.
Well, it's not necessarily always true when you say it yourself, but yes, I will agree with you there. But I think what happens now is, so if you are faced with things, you could still go back to doing things with dignity. You could still do things in a a respectful way. You could do it with speed if it is that you have to let people go. You could also do that as graceful as possible, right? So there's a lot of things, and it's always going to be the communication. And there's always something to be said about doing things face to face and individual, and also taking all that time out, because it's people's livelihood. It's also their dreams. It could actually be their dreams, and so it's not about if you have to do it or not. I guess if you have to do it, you have to do it, but you could still do it in a very respectful way.
Definitely.
And then obviously the receiver, in the moment it happens, he, she, they might not be all that happy about it and the way it went down, but you will know, and they will know also the difference, right? So I think now it's a lot of discussions of the no issues, like working from anywhere, or distributed first, or hybrid, or as what we call smart work.
Yes.
I think that is a no debate. I think the big debate is, okay, how do we make sure that the people and the companies that might not have a job in 2023, how do we make sure that we handle that with grace and dignity and use all of our professional skills to do that?
Definitely. Yeah. Word on that, for sure. So, Katarina, going back to, where we started a year ago, were there any surprises now? You look back 12 months back in time. Were there any surprises during the year that you didn't reckon with, or?
Not really. And that is a very boring answer. But then again, you have to do your homework, right? If you're very, very tight to what's happening in your surrounding, if you kind of are aware of the macro. But I think the surprise is how fast we all got into headwind.
Yes.
And I think that is the biggest surprise. But then again, I think we all started to do the prudent thing already beginning of the summer. So inflation is telling you something, and usually the way to get out of inflation is to go into recession. So the winter is coming in many ways, right? And then you prepare and you try to do the best thing. I don't think you can do so much about the darkness, but the coldness you can do a lot about.
Yeah, you can definitely do it. So
I say, and take off my glove. Yeah.
And have a sip of the coffee. I'll ask you about 2023 later. Mm-hmm. But closing now, what do you bring with you?
I bring the things that I think is the most precious for any a manager or leader, but also when you're part of a community, is that, you know, when the tough gets going, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And I'm just blessed with a great team, and it's just it's awesome to see them grow and also take on all the things that are quite difficult, sometimes even hard, and coming together as a team and a unit. I also think that the wider community, the HR community, but also the company, and for me, I'm thinking about Spotify, how we do things and how we keep producing things and how the Spotify machine keeps delivering. I'm in awe, and I think that is what I'm going to bring into the holidays. Because it's, again, like the weather. I think, you know, life and work life is the same thing. It's not just going to be sunshine, but it's always interesting to see how you will deal with things. And when you deal with them in a good way, it's also comforting. It's also, you know, it brings joy even if it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Will you take some time off?
Yes, important. My boss says it's very important. I happen to agree. So yes, I'm going to take some time off, spend with family. Hopefully it's going to be a bit snow. And this year it's not great in the calendar, but it's not bad. Next year it's going to be great. So I'm going to stay in Sweden. How about you?
I'm also going to stay in Sweden and also take some time off, family and friends. And I think every year, regardless if you celebrate Christmas or not, year end is the time where everything quiets down for the majority of our people globally, right? So I think just taking the opportunity to log off and recharge is a wise thing to do.
Yeah, but I think one thing that everybody should do is, you know, you close the books if you're in finance, and I think you should close the mental books for yourself.
Yeah.
For you, your team, but also you kind of the work, in a sense of, it's very easy to look at the things that are difficult. It's also very easy, I think, for anybody that is human to go on what did not necessarily work that well. I think you should do a closing of the mental book of all the things that you achieved, all the things that you did together, and all the laughs you had over the year. And I think it's a mindset thing, and I think it's good to do that because it's a lot of hard work, but it's also a lot of hard and well-earned achievements.
Yes, for sure. So thank you very much, 2022.
Thank you very much for 2022.
Thank you.
For all the time that we spent on this rooftop.
Yes, and we look forward to 2023. And you know what?
Yes.
As we wrap 2022 up, I think we should also thank our great team that are behind the cameras.
Yes.
And also look how beautiful the colors are that Simon, Karin, Julia, and Hannah has prepared for us.
Why don't you come here?
Join us and we'll say thank you.
Because obviously we're not really putting the light and everything. And so should we do the three things together?
The three things?
Yes.
Are you?
Okay. So this is how much they listen to us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So stay strong. Safe. Stay active. In the medalje.
You haven't listened, Simon. You haven't listened at all.
I have.
He's the only one that listens.
Every episode. I listen so closely.
You were surprised. You didn't know this was going to happen. Kommer du ihåg dina predictions?
Ja, det gör jag.
Kommer du ihåg dem? Vill du att jag ska... Nej. Utan vi bara...
Det är ju 2 timmar. De var 14 stycken. Nej,
hade du 14? Alltså jag kan ju hålla på sådär en stund. Nej, inte heller. And now you hug me.
No?
Yes!